energise myself. Okay, first up. Second up, we've already had one first up. Who's got Facebook? Good, good, good. Even Callum's got it. Who's got Twitter? Good, good, good. Who's got Bebo? There's always a couple, always a couple. It's all good. Hey guys, so after the Christchurch earthquakes happened, in Christchurch, you know, we've had over 10,000 of them in the last wee while, and you've seen it on the news. You've seen it hit us in many different ways and affect many, many people in many different ways. There's huge devastation. There's huge problems that are down there, and the problems are really systemic. They are huge right now, and especially as we approach through the recovery. Soon after the earthquake struck, I started a Facebook page, and it was called the Student Base for Volunteer Cleanup, and it was purely aimed at this stuff. You all know what this is? Silt, yes. Silt is caused by liquefaction. The process when the earth shakes and the mud and the water mix together and create this liquefaction that pops up all around the place. It's been a pretty horrendous time, and back in September we had about 60,000 tonnes of liquefaction. In February we had around 400,000 tonnes of liquefaction. In June we had about 200 tonnes of liquefaction, and just before Christmas then it was estimated around 150,000 tonnes of liquefaction. Of silt, sorry. Liquefaction process. It's caused huge problems for so many people, and it's really shaken us up a lot down there. And when the silt bubbles up through the chair you're sitting on, when it bubbles up and actually takes someone's life, it's been a really, really tough time. But there's been some really good things that have come out of it. And our team, who have been involved with the Student Volunteer Army over the past, 18 months, have learned an awful lot. It all started when natural disaster strikes. So I want to do a wee demonstration to you guys about the themes of today really are the tools that are in our pockets and the skill of being unskilled. Because that's what we don't really have a whole lot of skills when we're young, or so I was told when I first started to volunteer. And we've got amazing tools in our pockets that old people don't know how to use. Alright, so can we, I need 4 volunteers. 5 volunteers actually, 5 volunteers. Anyone. A few different colours, someone from red, someone from yellow, just jump up the front, come up. Okay. First up on the stage, you are in charge of power. You're in charge of sewage. I'm sorry. You're in charge of water. You're in charge of roads, and you're in charge of what else have we forgotten? Power. And phone lines, and that's it. Telecommunications. You guys are all specialists, okay? They have specialist skills. They are trained exceptionally well to deal with these skills in any sort of situation that they're in. These water bottles that I've got down the front here, they are their skills. They know what their skill is, they know how to fix it, and they're prepared for when a disaster strikes. So in a moment, okay, the disaster's going to strike, and you're going to know what you're doing. You plan for it, you're going to go and put your disaster back together. Put the disaster back together, put the city back together, put all the things back in line where they belong. Okay, so guys, we're going to count down for the disaster. From 3, 3, 2, 1, disaster!
Wait, does it matter what bottle it was? Is it any bottle?
You can go sit down.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. Go sit. So we've seen, right, just from there, we've got people who have their skills. They have their skills and they know what they're doing. They put things back together. Some of them sort of stood there and didn't quite know what to do. Good representation of what actually happened in Christchurch after the first earthquake. I rang up the council call centre. I was like, I would like to volunteer. And they said to me, well, what skills have you got? And I said, well, nothing really. I'm a student. I've got my computer. I can come and do some typing. I could do a couple of other things. I don't know. What do you want us to do? There's massive people out there. There's all these young people. There's all these other people in the community who really want to help out. They really can get stuck in and do something. But the people who were in charge were only focused on their area, on their skill. And there was no scope for those of us out there who just have the ability to do anything. We just have a go and get stuck in. So when I created the Facebook page, there were 3 other Facebook pages that I was invited to on the same day, most of which were earthquake after parties. Okay, now we all like a good party, we all like to have a bit of fun. But the day after a disaster, to get invited to a few earthquake after parties, to be trying to sell a t-shirt that said, I survived the Christchurch earthquake, wasn't the right thing to be doing, and we all know that. So I started the Facebook page, and it grew. The parties were growing a bit faster, so we did a bit more promo. We just got it out there as much as we possibly could. I invited 200 friends to it, and those 200 friends invited their friends, and those friends invited their friends, until it sort of became pretty viral at that sort of point in time. We still didn't really know what we were doing. We We didn't really have much communication back from the authorities and from the officials. We rang up one guy, one of the councillors, and said, we'd like to go out and do something, what can we do? He said, well, there's no avenue for it, we're not really prepared for spontaneous volunteers. Those of us who just have no officially trained skills, but just can use our common sense, our practical knowledge, and just get stuck in and do something. And so we went out. I said on Facebook, let's meet at 10 a.m. in the morning in Horsville, which is out in Christchurch. 10 a.m, none of us like to get down to bed too early. And let's go out there and just shovel some silt. We started at Munro, and 150 people turned up on the first day. And as a group, a whole lot more people turned up. And they were day after day after day. We got more people. Until the point we had 2,500 people in September, shoveling 60,000 tonnes of liquefaction off the streets and helped the council. Then February happened. February was nasty. It was really, really bad. And I've talked to you about that. So I'm just going to do a quick presentation now. I'm going to talk you through a quick video about how February worked. When we had 9,000 volunteers, 1,800 people a day. People would turn up in the morning. They'd bring their shovels, bring their wheelbarrows, bring whatever they could. If they didn't have it, we'd supply everything for them. They'd come in the morning and they'd sign in. And we'd have our team leaders who would be briefed first off in the morning. Really important, the team structure. So the team leaders knew which people they were in charge with. And so every 50 people went through, had a team leader, and that team leader had a leader that they went up to, and then right out to the team of people who were in charge of the wheelbarrows. When the volunteers would come in, they'd give their driver's license or the student ID card, and we built the IT techs, built a system, so they signed it, they swiped their card, so we know where they're going, and so they're safe all the time. Before we'd pop them on a bus and send them out to the eastern suburbs of Christchurch. When they get to the suburbs, this is pretty much what they did. They just shoveled. They just shoveled themselves all day long. For about a month. And we had up to 1,800 people a day. And for a start, it was quite easy because we could send them to the area where we knew there was a lot of damage. Then it got difficult. We had to try and locate the people who really needed the help. And ironically, the people who really need the help aren't the ones who use Facebook. We all know that. So it became a little bit difficult situation. The biggest thing about it, we had to make it fun. We had to make it enjoyable. And what gets us all going, right? A really good lunch. Let's get out there, let's have a good lunch, let's have fun, get briefed in the afternoon, working as part of a really energetic and exciting team, and then get back out on the streets again. And generally, people had a really good time. And they just got stuck in, they just enjoyed it. We had to make a decision right at the start. Do we put 2 people into one house and have them work on that one house for a week? Or do we put a team of, say, 10 or 12 people, like these guys, into a home and have them work for the whole period, like for a series of just short hours, and get the job done? There's a couple of things we learned about our generation, about some of the things that we like doing. We like things simple, right? You want to turn up, you want to have it all organised for you, and you just want to do the thing. You don't want to be bogged down in admin or the boring sort of the bureaucracy and everything else that comes with it. So we had a really strong team approach, and everyone that participated was just as important as the other. We trusted them a lot, and we took the risks that came with that trust. So we knew they were going to make mistakes, and we accepted that. We had a call centre, we had the team up the top there who did all the matching of jobs, so when a job would come in, we'd match that up with a different group of people, and they'd get sent out onto the street and have a wicked time. So one little car could pop around a whole lot of different addresses by texting us back into the call centre or text them back, telling them which next place to go to. One of the most important things with the volunteer army was the relationships we built up throughout the time. Suddenly, we went from the stage where it was we were a group of law students, or a group of students, some of us did law, some of us did geography, some guys were still in high school like you guys, and we were ringing the important people and asking them for their advice, but they didn't know what they were doing either. And suddenly we realised that people are just people, and they've got a lot more experience than us. But in this sort of situation, we suddenly became the experts, and with our skills, just like you guys. So some of the relationships we built up were so important, and despite the army trying to shut us down, despite politicians trying to convince us to go to one area over another, and all the sort of business and nastiness that came with it, we built strong trust and relationships with it, which made it fun, it made it good, it made it enjoyable, and it made the whole thing just tick over, which was pretty remarkable how it happened. And it was one great big team event, which saw about 15,000 homes helped, if not more, with just the volunteers in the first couple of weeks. We then got invited to go to Japan. Spending some time in Japan after the tsunami had been through is something I never wished to live through again. And it was probably the most horrific thing I've ever been through in my life. And like the guys that have been, the youth ambassadors who have been and seen some pretty horrific things, this was up there. My colleague Jason and I went. We had 2 weeks. We worked for the group from Waseda University in Tokyo and travelled with them up to Shinomaki, where a 14-metre wave went through. Here's a bit of a clip that just sort of explains, shows a wee bit about Japan. Just utter devastation for miles and miles. And what we did there was pretty simple. We shoveled silt. We picked up things that no one else wanted to pick up. We did the things a lot of people weren't doing. And we just helped people out. Even though what we were doing was pretty insignificant on the broad scale of things. It was what mattered the most to so many people. This is our team we worked with. And we just had a good time. We did what was practical. We did what came naturally to us. This guy here is called Wakana Fujita, and that's our translator. Wakana Fujita was standing in his house when the earthquake first struck. So the earthquake hit and then the tsunami hit. Wakana said to Fujita said to his mum who was inside the house with him, we need to get upstairs and protect ourselves because the tsunami is going to attack. It is going to come and get us. And he knew that they live in a tsunami zone. They were well aware of the place they live. What they weren't aware of was that half their other family was on the outside. A lot of their other family came around to the door, and for those of us who've been down to Christchurch in the last wee while, sometimes the doors don't open, sometimes the windows don't open, and particularly after a big shake, if your house gets a bit skew-off like Chris's, you often can't get the doors and windows open. So half of Fujita's family were standing on the outside. He said to his mum, they couldn't get them in, like, we need to get upstairs, we have to tell them to go somewhere else, come on mum, come up the stairs with me. And so he tried to get her up the stairs. When he reached out, if you just sort of look behind you and imagine you can see straight through those doors, if everyone look, imagine you can see straight through those doors to the other side of the field there where we were sitting for lunch. That sort of distance away, he saw a 14-metre black wall of water hurling towards him at hundreds of kilometres an hour. He sprinted up the stairs. And stood on a cabinet at the back of his house for a few hours while this noise, this wave just came and decimated his entire existence, wiping out his whole family. He stood up there for a few hours until the water sort of subsided enough. It was about a day until he could actually get down onto the bottom floor. And he waded through water chest height, because the tsunami jumped the tsunami walls, which were these big walls around the area. And then to jump that, it created a big lake. He went around and he knew full well there's going to be no way, there's going to be no support for me, despite living in a first world country, one of the most developed countries in the world, in Japan, in a really nice area. He knew there's going to be no assistance for him. So he just went around and started stringing up bodies. And he started bringing these bodies back to his home, and stacking them up there. Then he started taking water around, taking water to the elderly people who he knew were in the top of his, other upstairs of his house. And it was generally just pretty horrific. His house is the one sort of just at the top there on the right. Why I'm telling you this, guys, and what makes it so real to me, even though what we did there, you sort of got on the video, we worked with a small group of students, and we just got them stuck in. We just did what we thought came naturally to us. Fujita talked about the earthquake and the tsunami as his destiny. He said, I accept it. It's really bad. I've been through something that most people in the world a lot of people in the world will never experience. But I've survived. We live in a world where natural disasters happen all the time. Bad things happen. We never know it. And the life that we live right now is only such a small slice of what the world actually is. And it was pretty insightful, and it was really the most incredible thing. But being there for a couple of weeks, being there and experiencing, and just doing the really basic cleanup stuff was what we took for granted. We'd come across young groups of people like ourselves on the street, okay guys, and you'd say, well, they'd ask us, we really want to help. And I'd say, okay, come and pick it up and let's put it out on the street. That sort of basic mentality that we have as Kiwis, that we are so lucky to have, that we can just identify something, see a way to fix it and get on and do it, really saved us, and it was really quite an incredible experience. But what about when disaster continues to strike us? So today with World Vision, we're thinking a lot about disaster that happens across the world. Famine, hunger strikes, everything that encapsulates, and it's massive. And while when the tsunami hits Japan, every single NGO, non-government organisation in the world flocks to Japan to help them out and support those people, there's not as much that goes to the areas who have ongoing disaster. This is a photo from a school in Nugget where one of the other, some of the youth ambassadors went. 136 kids in this class. And it's awesome that they even have a classroom to go to. It's really quite incredible. Yet, you know, we're over here and we chuck up so much food. And it's really just, it just gets to me. And I think from spending some time in Japan, but more importantly, I spent some time in India. And I was telling some guys about this at lunchtime last year. I spent some time in a slum in India. And there's so much beauty in that place. That people were so happy and quite content. But there's just so much waste, and the disparity between those who have so much money and with those who are so poor was really quite remarkable. So I always think, you know, we've always got decisions to make. And when I was in India, it was the Global Changemakers Convention. There were 60 young people, just like us. I'm only a couple of years older than you guys. Just like us there, who saw something in their communities and changed it. They saw something they wanted to change, whether it was going out and building a little garden, or my friend from Tibet he lived in a village where they had a huge shortage of water, a huge shortage of food, so he had a creek running by, so he made a big pond. In this pond he started rearing fish in, and suddenly they had a fish supply. And basic things like that. He made a positive decision to do something different in his community, and also supported other groups. A friend from Yemen, Nida, she leads 300 women to talk to them about human rights and women's rights and what you can do if you just get together with some friends and educate and work together in a positive and quite inspiring way. Honestly, these people are the most incredible heroes in my life. And when we talk about our problems we've got in Christchurch right now, I think we're so lucky. We are so lucky because we live in a country where we're supported by so many different people, and we've got such an incredible mentality to really do some good. It's tricky though, isn't it? You sort of look, I was in your chair literally a couple of years ago, and we all see opportunities out there. I drive around Christchurch at the moment and see a whole series of empty plots of land, and I think, what can we do on that? Let's plant a mural, let's build a community garden, let's do something a bit different, let's just be a bit crazy, go to Granville and see what pops up. Even if you're not allowed to do it, if you do it overnight, will they ever know? Will they ever come and find you? Probably not. It's great. I mean, we have a ball. So leadership for me is about creating the alternative. We can't always think about leadership as this big thing you need to aspire to, because it's there. You guys are leaders. You do it all the time. You're at this conference because of that. But you can really make a huge difference in your community, in your area, in your school, and have that give so much weight to the World Vision as well. To World Vision, sorry. In Christchurch, we create the alternative. I work for the Volunteer Army Trust now, and it's all about creating the alternative. It's got a pretty organic structure to it, and we just find projects. We're like, let's do something there. Let's get a team of people around us to make it happen. We trust those people. We don't try and micromanage them and make sure they do everything according to the rule book. We trust them to take some responsibility, take some decisions, and just have a go. And we're there to help them and mentor them along the way against management. And servant leadership is another thing I think about leadership that speaks huge volumes to me. During the Volunteer Army, one of the jobs I did every day was clean the portaloos. That's simply because it's not a job you could really delegate to anyone, and nobody sort of naturally did. And so myself and one other guy in the end who came to help me, we clean the portaloos each day at the base tent. And when you've got 1,000 people going through it, it's not nice, but that's the way. But we couldn't get any support from officials to help us, so we just had to do it ourselves. So encouraging, support, and enable leadership is really quite an incredible thing to be able to do. And really just be prepared to do it yourself and get stuck in. Have a strong team ethos is my other big thing I like doing. We set up teams at the Volunteer Army. We didn't have enough money, so we set up a team of people to go and get money from sponsors. We didn't have enough wheelbarrows, so we set up the wheelbarrow team to go and find wheelbarrows. And we needed to transport the wheelbarrows, so we had the transport team to transport the wheelbarrows. The wheelbarrows were in pieces, so we had to have the building team that built the wheelbarrows, the team that transported them out to the suburbs, the team that brought them back, the team that fixed them at the end of the day, and the team that got them all ready, so that the students, all they had to do was come and pick it up and let it go. Everyone had a job to do. Everyone was excited for it, and they did what they wanted to do, not what we told them to do, which was awesome. Lastly, the piece of number 8 wire. Something we all take for granted, that as I mentioned before with our experience in Japan. But a bit of number 8 wire, even if we can't actually, we're not farmers and we can't manoeuvre the number 8 wire like the Farming Army and Federated Farmers can, we can use our number 8 wire, I think. We can do something on the computer. We can create an event on Facebook. We can build it out of computer code, and you can do a raft of things. Using the ability to be innovative, just be a bit crazy and really have a go at something. I just wanted to talk, guys, briefly about two people I've met, pretty important people. Horrendous name drops here, sorry. First one's Art Agnos. He was the mayor of San Francisco back when the earthquake hit San Francisco a few years ago. Was out in New Zealand, and I was very privileged to meet him, and I was going to San Francisco at the end of last year. Just going through there, and I emailed him saying, you met me briefly, and I'd really like to have a coffee with you in San Francisco. And he's like, oh, well, how long are you here for? And I was like, well, not sure yet. He said, well, come and stay. I was like, okay, we'll stay a week then. and so we did. We stayed a week with the ex-mayor and his wife in their home, and he gave us the most incredible tour of San Francisco, and talked to us about what he had done in San Francisco since the earthquake and since their big disaster. There was a massive motorway that went around the edge of San Francisco. Has anyone been to San Francisco here? Yeah, a few people. So where the Embarcadero went around the edge. Art was the one that made this thing get destroyed. It was a 6-lane, double-decker motorway, a big, hideous thing that went around the edge of the bay. When the earthquake happened, it collapsed. And Art said back to them, look, we don't really, I don't want this anymore, we need to get rid of that. Despite huge opposition from the business community and from so many other groups, he had a vision for something different. He said, if we get rid of this motorway, that's going to revitalise a really low area, a really sort of slummy, low decile area of this community. We can change it by making a decision that not many people want to make, and not many people too many people are scared to make. So he got rid of it. He also lost his job because of it. It was more or less political suicide for him. But when he talked about it, he says, and this is a man that also got shot in the back by a black American gang who had to kill a white person to become part of this gang back in years and years ago. And he now is he's the strongest advocate now for race relations, and really has done so much work in integration within San Francisco. He's one of the most remarkable people. He said to me, we've got to give them hope. And he said that to Harvey Milk, who was a mayoral candidate running against him, who's been incredibly influential in the gay community around the world. You've got to give them hope. We can't be all negative. As the ambassador said before, you've got to focus, we know the big picture, but let's focus on local. Let's do something that we can do in our communities and look at how we can build that up. The other person, and this is a really bad name drop, I met Hillary Clinton back in 2010, purely by accident. Like, honestly, I was a guest at a lecture, there was about this many people there. I was sort of sitting, Cass, you put your hand up. I was sort of sitting where Cass is back there. That's how sort of the lowest of the low, sort of ring-in person at this event where Hillary Clinton was speaking. No, I didn't mean that though. Oh God, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean that. I was that person. You are definitely not a hero. I'm sorry. I was that person. I was the most insignificant. You are not. Very significant person. It's terrible. I thought it was dreadful. Anyway, I was at this reception. I was sitting there, and have you ever been in that situation, guys, when you really want to ask a question? Just want to think of something intelligent to say. I was like, please think of something intelligent to ask. Question time. Stuck in my hand anyway. Really didn't have a clue what I was going to ask. And thankfully, my lecturer was the MC, and she came round and she said to me, oh, Sam, there's actually no more time for questions. I was like, oh, thank God for that. But she said, how would you like to thank the secretary for coming? I was like, oh, okay, sure, that'd be great. Yeah. And expecting to do a little thing, stand up at your desk, your chair, and do it on behalf of everyone here. Thanks for coming. She actually got a standing ovation. She left stage. She just popped off stage that way, and everyone stood up and clapped and applauded her. And so I was in Cass's chair, and I was like, okay, what do I do? Big thing, lots of really important people. I'll just go up to the stage. Went up, and there were these massive, big security bouncers here that we were really unimpressed with me moving in the audience, and they were like, and so I came up and I just walked past them. And my lecturer went up on stage and said, oh, actually, just one more thing. I'd actually like Sam Johnson to come and just do a wee thank you. I was like, okay, so I popped up on stage, and here we all these people, this huge barrage of media people, and I just made something up about the importance of New Zealand and American international relations and how that's been strengthened by her visit and all this sort of other political jargon that I didn't really know what I was saying, but it seemed to fit the bill for that sort of situation. Great. Then I went down, how do we chat to her, which I wasn't actually allowed to do, but I just sort of took off and they couldn't stop me. And just how do we chat? And we talked for a couple of minutes, and she's a remarkable woman, and anyone who's seen her look for work, we've seen everywhere. But what she said to me was so poignant. She said, I noticed you. She knew who we were because we looked for a social problem. We saw a social problem in the community and we fixed it. But more importantly, we used the tools in our pockets to fix it. Student Volunteer Army was run by Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, and Google Maps, pretty much. And we just sort of hashed them together. We weren't fixated on marketing. We weren't fixated on creating a product that then we could sell. We weren't fixated on the capitalist ideals. We were fixated on community, on ways that we could work with our community. And she said that's the biggest thing. for moving forward? How do we see a problem and work through it constructively to really create a stronger society for us all to live in? Finally, probably got way out of time. Everyone know the story of the 3 wise men? Yeah, what's the first one? What was the first 3 with the wise men bring? Gold? Frankincense? No, good. So, there's an amazing guy called Ken Robinson. He is, everyone knows TED Talks, right? TED Talks, yeah, look up TED Talks, they're amazing. Look up Ken Robinson on TED Talks. He does this talk about, in his book actually, which I just read recently. He talks about his son who was doing the school nativity play. The first kid came out and said, I've got the gold. The second one came out and said, I've got the myrrh. The third one came out and said, Frank sent this. Okay? And then just carried on with the play, because he had no idea really what he'd done wrong, and the rest of the audience sort of laughed, and Frank sent us, and who actually knows what frankincense is anyway, right? Bizarre. So, but what I love about the story, and what I love about the way Ken Robinson talks about it, is that when we're young, even when we're young right now, and but if you guys go and interact like with someone at preschool now, or someone who's sort of 4 or 5, they have this incredible creativity. They just do things. They just get so excited about playing and having fun, as we all did, as we all love to do. But as we progress through life, eventually that gets bashed out of us enough until you get to university and you feel like you've got to go on this path. What Ken says is we've got to, and what I think so strongly, we've got to maintain and just grab onto that creativity that we have and really embrace it as much as we can. As creativity and ideas and a bit of inspiration, a bit of craziness, a bit of get out of the box and do something, I think is the most strongest thing that we can all contribute. And with the skill of being unskilled and with the tools that we've got in our pockets, you guys can do anything. It's been really awesome coming to talk to you today. So thank you so much. I wish you the very, very best for the family this year. Do well.
Hey, Sam.